Good morning, friends. Welcome to Business Analysis Chronicle webinar series. This is a weekly webinar, and today we are going to discuss about elements of an SOP. I'm your host, Venkatesh Narayanan. I'm working as Principal Consultant at Physics Business Consultants Private Limited. So SOP stands for Standard Operating Procedures. You are aware of it. So let us get started with a quick poll just to understand like how many of you are really familiar with the standard operating procedure. So just I'm launching a poll here. So please select your response. Yes, I know, I don't know. Only two things. Okay, just this will give me an idea that where we are and how we can take this forward. Okay, just like be frank. Okay, I don't know the names. Okay, so you can feel free to give your polls. Fine, I will give you kind of like 1 more minute. Please make it fast, and so that we can go ahead. So I will tell you, like based on the results so far, I will tell you that this is something like 50-50. 56% says yes, I know, and 44% says I don't know. So no issues. Let us go ahead and continue the discussion. So now the thing is like we will kind of like give some introduction on standard operating procedures, and we will go ahead on the topic. And now this is a weekly webinar series, and we will be focusing on business analysis concepts, tools, and techniques. So today's session falls under business analysis concepts. The reason is like several times the business analysts or consultants from various companies, they have requested me, why don't you give us a small session on the elements of SOP, what an SOP should contain? Because in these companies, the business analyst is responsible to develop a standard operating procedure for the organization. One of the main reason is business analyst has a kind of like a greater understanding about the organization. So kind of like as the time passes, business analysts are getting more and more responsibility on the development of standard operating procedures. So today we'll be discussing on the standard operating procedure, and typically like our webinar will be like we'll be discussing for 25 minutes and then last 5 minutes for the question and answers, and totally we'll be having 30-minute session. And I also request you to help us to better design this webinars. So take the polls and surveys so that like we know kind of like what is your expectation, so that will make us like better engaged. And as part of this, you will also find handouts. Okay, there is one SOP document from World Health Organization. So these days WHO is on the forefront or in the limelight, right? So kind of like this is one of the, I would say, a decent SOP, okay, from World Health Organization. But the SOP structure and the design changes according to the nature of the organization, ultimately what we want, right? So now with this basic understanding, let us get started. So first I will discuss kind of like what is SOP, okay? So SOP stands for Standard Operating Procedure, and the term is like very widely used, but equally like some of the organizations says manuals, procedure guidelines, okay? Several names are there, but Standard Operating Procedure is a very, I would say, very familiar name or a correct terminology within an organization. So we will use the term standard operating procedure. So what is a standard operating procedure? Standard operating procedure tells us that 5 W's and 1 H. What is this 5 W's and 1 H? Kind of like what we have to do, why we have to do, who has to do it, when we have to do it, and where we have to do it, and last the H, how to do it, right? This is a document for any given process, right? This is a document for any given process. It talks about the 5 W's and 1 H, precise. And what do we mean by a process? A process is a set of sequential activities carried out in a predetermined order to deliver value to the customer, right? If you take any organization, they may be having finite number of processes. I mean, countable number of processes they will be having within an organization. Say, the organization may have some 50 processes or processes. The organization may have 50 processes. So, as a business analyst, we need to know what are all these processes first. And how do we define a process? A process is a set of sequential activities carried out in a predetermined order to deliver value to the customer. These customers could be internal or external customers, right? So that is the way we define the process. And here, the standard operating procedure is, this is a document for the process. This talks about the 6 dimensions of that process. That is, what is that process? Why we should do that process? Then when we have to do the process, where we have to do the process, by whom this process will be performed, and ultimately the most important question, how to do that process. When you talk about all these things, the process is a very streamlined one. The thing is, like, this kind of organization will become a process-centric organization. Process-centric organization means process drives the organization. People may come and go. Nothing will come to your heart within such kind of organization, right? People may come and go, but because the process is very streamlined. Otherwise, the process lives in the head of some of the best people, and when they leave, the organization will suffer. On the other hand, you download this information into a document and you make it as a standard operating procedure. And a standard operating procedure is very helpful. First, it streamlines the organization, and it's a kind of like, it reduces chaos. It becomes a process-centric organization. You will be doing the same thing again and again in a better manner. And SOP is a kind of like a foundation for process improvement within the organization. And it is also acceptable in a court of law. And this is used as a training document. I can tell so many other benefits. Okay. So now we know SOP is nothing but a documentation of a given process, right? SOP is a documentation. This document could be, this could be in a printed format, or it could be an electronic document, right? So now the today's focus of the session is, we want to understand the elements of an SOP, what it should contain, right? That is the biggest question. Many people kind of like, there is a lot of confusion around this elements part. So now what we have done is, this is typically like for most of the organizations, these element will, we have something like 30 elements, say, and these 30 elements will be applicable to each and every organization. Wherever it is kind of like a overkill or too much, you can remove that. Otherwise, you can kind of like adopt to this guidelines. Fine. So we start with the header. Header is also known as boilerplate. That is, this is something like a kind of like a template or a boilerplate you have at the beginning of the SOP. It says, what is the name of the SOP? What is the number of the SOP? What is the current revision? And what are all the significant dates? That is when it is issued, from when it is effective, when it is going to be reviewed, what was the last revision? Okay. Who has written this, who has reviewed this, who has approved this, right? All these details. So typically, like here, the most important is, I would say, the SOP name and the SOP number. Each organization uses a SOP nomenclature. What is the SOP nomenclature? The way of numbering. Okay. For example, at physics, we have our own SOPs, right? For physics. So we use something like SOP hyphen and the department name in 3 letters hyphen 001. Okay. So this is something like a 9 digit, okay, or 9 character, 3 plus 3 are alpha and the last 3 are numeric. Okay, so 9 digit. So it depends on the complexity of the organization, how best you want to identify this SOP, and what is the meaning you want to infer from the name of this SOP. So like this, you can create the numbering pattern, which we call it as SOP nomenclature. So the header is nothing but, it's a table, it's a small table. It contains SOP name, number, who has created, reviewed, approved, and which are all the significant dates when it is becoming effective, when it has to be reviewed. So when I say reviewed, the thing is like you have developed this SOP. The SOP will be reviewed for on two occasions. One is the SOP has reached a date. That is, organization have a typical practice that let us review this SOPs once in a year. So they will put a date that this is the next review date. So on that date, the relevant people will sit together and they will go through this. Okay, anything need to be improved. Of course, you will have a lot of points to be improved, and so you will do that improvement, and it is again revised and launched. Okay, or released for the usage. That is one. And whenever there is a certain things are changing fast, right? Today's world. So whenever there is a significant change in the process, right, or the way we are doing, right, at that time also you will revise this SOP, because there is no point in like doing a different process and the SOP is talking something else. So always the thing is like the practice should be as per the SOP. So the review may be done on two occasions. One, it reaches the review date, and another one is it's a kind of like something significantly changed in the process. For example, today I'm launching a new SOP, and in 1 month's time, the kind of like the process, like we have improved the process to a different level. I should not wait for the next review date. Rather, I need to review. I need to change this right away. Okay, to reflect the current process. Then forward. Okay, typically in books you might have seen the forward. The same way in SOPs also. So the forward is introducing this SOP to the audience, right? Typically the forward will be written by the department head. Okay, the department head will write a kind of like a few paragraphs. Normally it should not exceed a page. It should not become a story of its own. Rather, the department head introduces this SOP to the audience, that these are all the reasons we have created, and kind of like how it should be used. Okay, and who are the people contributed. They take opportunity to thank the people or thank the authors who have created this SOP, or the people who contributed part of this SOP. So that is the forward. Forward is like a nice introduction, or the way of introducing this SOP to the readers or the audience. Then copyright statement. You see, like the SOPs can be protected under Indian Copyright Act. Okay, we have an office in Delhi in India, and the same rule has in all the countries, right? Any country that is coming under the WTO, okay, you have this copyright establishment within the country. And what is this copyright? This is something like very important. That is, this SOP should not be copied by our competitors or somebody. It should not get out of the organization. So the copyright statement says that kind of like the thing is like this SOP in any form, either electronic, physical, printed, okay, photocopy, in any form, it cannot be accessed by anybody else who are not connected with this SOP. Okay, even within the, for example, like if I'm working in production, I should not go into some of this finance department SOP. I don't have access to, I don't have rights to access that. Okay, so the copyright statement clearly says that kind of like these are all the people kind of like who can access this, and any violations on this, it is punishable under. It is illegal under the Indian Copyright Act. So to put this statement, you have to do some groundwork. The thing is like you have to apply through the Indian Copyright, the IPR portal to the Delhi office, where you have to submit this SOP, and you will get a copyright statement. Okay, only then you can put this statement, right? So the copyright statement is this is protecting the SOP. Then table of contents, of course, you know that is the list of things that is covered. Then the next one is overview. Overview is this is to set the context of the SOP. Okay, when I say context, that kind of like giving a broad overview about this particular area. For example, say I'm going to write, I will take this example of asset management SOP. Say I'm working for a construction company, and I'm writing this SOP. I'm a business analyst in a construction company, and this construction company has a lot of fixed assets. Okay, in a company we have two types of assets, right? Current assets and fixed assets. Current assets are your raw materials, cement, steel, those things are like current assets. We use that to construct the buildings. But on the other hand, we have fixed assets. That is also used, but in a different manner. Those fixed assets are like earth movers, okay, concrete pumping, the concrete mixers, okay, concrete pumping stations, okay, are kind of like they use lot of gadgets in the construction process. So all this machine, all the trucks, okay, everything put together, we call this as fixed assets. And now my management has asked me to develop a asset management SOP. So when I say asset management now, kind of like in this overview, I will give you a kind of like a few paragraphs. This is all we are talking about in the asset management. Okay, a nice overview. Okay, because this is giving a context to the reader. Okay, so here like we will say like this is a construction company started in so and so years, and we are involved in these types of construction, and these kind of equipments are connected with this. So all those details will be there in the overview side. Then the purpose. So what is the purpose here? The purpose is, it's a kind of like what do you want to achieve? The objective of this SOP. When you say purpose, that is the objective of the SOP itself. What do we want to achieve with this SOP? What is the goal of this SOP? Why do you create this? So when we said this 5 W's and 1 H, the why is the most important. Why do you want to have this SOP? So now, why do I want to have? The thing is like I want to streamline 4 things in this SOP. I will write this as purpose. What are the 4 things? Because we are talking about this asset management. So the purpose of this SOP, this is the way we write. The purpose of this SOP is to streamline the asset procurement, to streamline the asset quotation process. Maybe like the asset quotation process should be first, then asset procurement process, then we will be having asset maintenance, then asset disposal, right? So what we are saying is the SOP, this particular asset management SOP is dealing with 4 different processes. So it is not necessarily each process should have its own SOP. Rather, whenever like we have kind of like the connected things, relevant things, we make it as a single SOP. So here it is like the asset, the request for quote, right? Or the quotation process for asset procurement, then asset procurement itself, then maintenance, then asset disposal. That is at the end of the life of the asset. How do you dispose it? Okay. Do you sell it at a different price, or you kind of like make it as a scrap? How do you want to do that? Okay. So it is setting a guidelines for. So the purpose of this SOP is to streamline all these 4 processes. Then scope. So here there are 4 processes. For each of the process, we will say that this is the start point, this is the end point. This is the start point, this is the end point. For example, when I say the asset quotation process, and for this process, the start point is there is a purchase request from one of the department, typically the engineering and construction or operations department, right? They have a kind of like they raise a request. So from the receipt of that request, the procurement head should get this, our procurement department should get this request, right? So it starts there, and until a business case is presented to the senior management, right? So it's a kind of like this is a quotation process so long. The thing is like I do the quotation negotiation, okay, and there will be like testimonials or evaluating those suppliers, okay, the potential suppliers, okay, then are the vendors, then kind of like taking all the way until a business case is presented. Now, when the business case is decided, when the business case is approved by the management, the next process starts. If it is approved, if it is rejected, that's it, the process is done. The first process is done, then it comes to a halt. But if it is approved, most of the cases it will be approved, right? So now it is approved. Now the next process starts. From the time the business case is approved until the machine is commissioned, erected, commissioned, tested, and finally handed over to the operations department. That is the end of this. So when I say scope, where does this process starts and ends? Starts and ends. right? So that kind of that gives a very clear-cut idea to the team. Then the policy guidelines. So now policy guidelines is typically issued by the management, and all SOPs they need to work within this sandbox established by this policy guidelines. When I say sandbox means it's a kind of like you see in Western countries, the kids play in the sandbox, right? There is a sandbox and they have to play within that box only. So that's what we say sandbox. So here the policy guidelines establishes a framework. It establishes a framework within which you have to operate. So what are the policy guidelines? So here the policy guidelines will say, what do you mean by fixed asset? What do you mean by fixed asset? So now here the fixed asset means, like here we are saying anything above, okay, $1,000 which is used more than a year, we call them as fixed asset. Number one policy guideline. And second, the fixed assets are divided into three groups. $1,000 to $5,000, they are level 3. And $5,000 to $10,000, it is level 2. Anything that is costing 10,001, this is dollars, right? 10,001 and above, they are level 1 assets, fixed assets. So here we are saying, what do we mean by fixed asset? We are defining that. What do we mean by fixed asset? And kind of like what are all the different categories of fixed assets? So this is the policy guideline. This will be issued by the management. Okay. And now the thing is like they will say it's a kind of like this. So there are several guidelines maybe there in terms of this fixed assets. Then the SOP success factors. So the success factor is, how do you measure the success of this SOP? What success looks like? We will give kind of like a greater detail. Okay. Then key stakeholders. Who are all the people connected? So here typically procurement head, the various department heads. Okay. Then your suppliers. Okay. Or kind of like then somebody who is you are the scrap merchant. Okay. Like this you will find so many people. Then key processes. You know these 4 processes. Now we will write a detailed description about each of these processes, and we will also attach process map along with this. Okay. So you know, like Microsoft Visio is a very good tool. Any business analyst, we should know Microsoft Visio to a greatest extent, because without process maps, business analyst is kind of like I would say it is half effective. Okay. So the key processes, okay. Then key systems. So what are all the equipments you will use? For example, here the key systems means what are all the softwares we are using as part of this, okay. That is like in relation to asset management. For example, asset valuation, you may be using software, or you may be having a ERP where the assets will be listed over there. Then RACI matrix. RACI matrix stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed, right? In fact, like maybe like in another 7 weeks time, we have a session on RACI matrix and SIPOC table separately. That is a session on its own, because as a business analyst, we use this RACI matrix several times, right? The thing is like almost every time we use the SIPOC table again. So SIPOC table stands for supplier inputs, process, output, and customers, right? So that is SIPOC. So SIPOC is coming from Six Sigma, right? So it's we borrow this from Six Sigma. SIPOC stands for any process there are inputs and outputs, okay, right? That is IPO. That is for any process there are inputs and outputs, and then inputs are provided by whom? Suppliers, and outputs are used by whom? Customers. So those customers could be internal or external, suppliers could be internal or external. So we will have a greater discussion around this SIPOC table and RACI matrix, where RACI stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed, right? So we will be having kind of like 2 separate sessions on this in the future, and where we will be discussing the same asset management again, right? So that like there is a continuity, right? We will be talking about the asset management, RACI matrix, and SIPOC table. I'm moving to the next one. So then now this is the most important part, activities. What are all the activities performed? And these activities, it's a kind of like it has to be given in a process wise. Okay, so now let us understand A process is something like a end to end. All process should deliver value, right? If there is a process, if it is not delivering value, means it is a useless process or it is a truncated process. So any process should deliver value. That is the way we identify the process. And each process will have a set of activities, and each activity will have a set of tasks. So, sorry. So what I want to say is a group of tasks make a activity, a group of activities make a process, right? You have to visualize this. A group of tasks make a activity, a group of activities make a process. So when we say SOP, SOP can be written at three levels. SOP can be written at process level alone. It is a very high level SOP. You want to make it more detailed, you can go to the next level, that is activities level SOP, and further detailed one, nitty gritty details. It will say turn right. Okay, how you have to kind of like do step by step. It will do all the small things. That is the task level SOP. Task level SOP is the most preferred one. The reason is nobody can do any mistakes. Especially the food industries, they use like food pharma, they go for task level SOPs. The reason is I don't want to give any scope for assumption that how to do something. So task, when I say task, it is at atomic level. That means, like in the olden days, right? Long back, okay. Atom cannot be broken. So we call this as atomic level. That means the task cannot be broken further down. The task cannot be broken further down. I have some requests for questions, and we will do this in another 5 minutes, okay. So then exception management, where things go wrong, what do you do? Then risk management. Risk management, we have another session. Okay. Then safety and security. How do you, from this SOP perspective? For example, during commissioning, erection and commissioning, it is the riskiest part. For example, especially for heavy machineries involved in construction industry. So how do you do that? How do you ensure that the erection, testing, commissioning, those things are done in the safest manner? Then the various standards guiding this. For example, like if it is in the pharma industry, the pharma industry will dictate. For example, US FDA, US Department of US Federal Food and Drug Administration, right? US Department of Food and Drug Administration. We call it US FDA, right? So they give very stringent things. Like these are all the equipments you need to use. So you need to follow their guidelines. Otherwise, you cannot sell your medicines in US. Within US, you cannot sell. Then process maps. Process maps is very, very important, no doubt. The thing is like, if I see a SOP without a process map, I don't believe that this is done in a nice manner. Okay, it is a very important part of a SOP, right? Then lessons learned. So what are all the issues happening or happened in the past? We need to kind of like so when you do this stakeholder interview while writing this SOPs, kind of like you will talk to them and they will say like during like this is a kind of accident happened, or this is the way there is a loss to the organization in terms of procurement. Okay, so all those things need to be captured here because this will inspire you how effective this SOP has to be there. Then SOP scorecard it is a measurement tool. It is a tool to measure whether this SOP is like this is after implementation, whether this SOP is working in the right manner or not, whether we are accomplishing the at the purpose you said, right? You have established the objectives, whether this SOP is delivering the results what you have aspired. Okay, are you kind of like are you testing the success of this SOP? Then SOP audit guidelines. So many a time, like you will find that there is a SOP custodians. Companies appoint a position called SOP custodian. This SOP custodian, I have seen different kinds of positions. In some organizations, I have seen the lead business analyst or the senior business analyst performing this role. SOP custodian means he is the owner of this SOP. Anything goes wrong anywhere in terms of SOP, he will be questioned. Okay, so SOP custodian. In some cases, I have seen even CFOs are acting as SOP custodian. And in some cases, the internal audit team, the head of the internal audit will do this SOP SOP audits or perform the role of SOP custodian. In some cases, they hire consultants like this who are outsiders. Okay, the kind of like we act as like, for example, physics acts as SOP custodian for several companies, and we do the periodic audits. Okay, some are surprise audits, some are informed audits. So the SOP audit guideline. So the SOP audit guideline, it will give like a checklist that if these things are working fine, okay, and we will kind of like we will check whether these say like this particular SOP has some 30 items. So the 30 items are there, whether this is performed as per this. These are all the key elements. Basically, this is having a good connection with the activities, right? Whether this is done correctly, whether they are practicing as per this SOP. So we will do this, and in case of any deviations we find, we will issue non-conformance reports, NCRs, non-conformance reports to the department head, not to the person who is doing. Okay, we will issue to the department head, and this is also presented to the management. And typically, kind of like companies will have this quarterly business review meeting. During those meetings, they will carry our kind of like bunch, and each department head will be questioned on this. These are all the companies very serious about SOPs, because SOP will give you a very good kind of like benefit to the organization. But still, I'm seeing like in India, it is like, for example, we develop SOPs for so many companies across the globe, and if you see the customers in India, we have 40%. Outside of India, we have 60%. So especially from North America and Europe, okay, to some extent Australia as well. Then feedback on the SOP. Okay, so now the last section will talk about like if there is something like I'm a user of this SOP, I'm finding this can be done in a better manner. Okay, the thing is like SOP is not something written on stone, right? It is not chiseled on the stone. The things like you can find always opportunities for improvement of a given SOP. So this feedback section of this SOP will say that kind of like for which of these recommendations you need to reach, okay, reach whom, right? Or whom do you give this? So it will list out kind of like a few phone numbers, emails, okay, and also sometimes people will have doubts on this SOP. So how to reach the person who wrote this SOP? Okay, all those guidelines in a large organization, you need not have to know everybody, right? It's complex, right? So it will give the clear guidelines. Then annexures. What are all the things? For example, here like the four process we said. One of them is like the first one is like a quotation. For quotation, like request for quotation or request for quotes. Okay, there is a typical template. Every time people need not have to think about this. So that the template will be readily available. A email template, or sometimes like for very costly items, you will advertise in newspapers, national newspapers as an open tender, right? In those cases, like what is the what is the format, right? What is the structure? Typically, in what size? Everything you need not have to kind of like do it again and again. Even the advertisement template itself will be there in Word document. Okay, so all those things will be attached as part of the annexures. Okay, so I will give you a, and physics, like this is a brief introduction about physics. Physics specializes in business analysis, supply chain management, and new product development, consulting, and certifications. We offer some 20 plus certifications in business analysis, SCM, and NPD put together. And from business analysis perspective, we are representing BCS. We are the accredited training partner, and we train several organizations and people across the globe. And physics is an ATP of BCS UK, offering these two major certifications. One is certificate in business analysis, another one is certificate in artificial intelligence. In case if you are interested to have these certifications, please reach out to our organization. And then the final thing, like now we are in the almost we are wrapping up. So the next webinar, next Tuesday on business model canvas. So what is the business model canvas? This is to understand the business as a whole. This is one of the business analysis technique. As you know, in this business analysis webinar series, we will be kind of like talking about business analysis concepts, tools, and techniques. So next we are going to talk about a technique which is business model canvas. And here, like I would ask you to type your questions here. You can type your questions in the chat area, and meantime I will ask you a few questions. Are you planning to do your business analysis question? There is a poll. You can say yes or no. Okay. I have a couple of questions just to improve this and to understand your inspirations. So you can select yes or no. This is about are you planning to do a business analysis certification? This is, you see, nothing like obligatory. Okay. This is just kind of like whenever we do this, we conduct some. Say yes or no. Okay, perfect. I'm closing this, and the next one is kind of like how would you rate this topic? Okay, how would you rate this topic? I'm launching this. You can talk about this topic, whether this is really useful to you. Okay, please respond. This will really help us to improve our sessions. So that is the ultimate idea. Fine, I'm closing this, and the last one. How would you rate this speaker? Okay, how would you rate this speaker? That is myself. Okay, you can like whatever you feel you can say. Okay, I'm closing this poll. Anybody is there to kind of like want to respond? Okay, perfect. I'm closing this. Fine. So let us talk about let us take few questions. Okay. So this is Valli from working as a business analyst with Capgemini. Nice meeting you here. Thank you, Valli. I have got a couple of questions. At what stage of SDLC BA has to deliver this SOP? So I would say almost when the design and even the when the design is done and even a prototype is done. Okay, that time you can start writing the SOP, and by the time it is kind of like launched. Okay, by the time the product is delivered to the customer, that time the SOP has to be ready. Okay, so because this takes some time, right? So as you, because like a business analyst is very good in writing, like business analyst is positioned very well in developing the SOP. That is the main reason. Like whenever companies ask me that who should I give to give this SOP, I will always say business analyst, right? So because these are all the people who can do this SOP very well. And so your SOP starting should be maybe at the end of kind of like the prototype. When the prototype is ready, you can start writing. But by the time the project is over, it should be ready. Okay, so you can plan accordingly. Then Valli has another question. Receivers will always be internal organization. Not necessarily. Okay. For example, in our case, we develop SOPs for our own organization, and as well as we develop SOPs for our client organization. That is our business. Okay. So we have, it could be both insiders as well as outside. So it depends on, like, for example, that is the reason we said it could be for some processes will have internal customers. In those cases, the SOP is for the internal people. And in some cases, your customers should be external, the real customers. In those cases, the SOP will be for them. And Nisha has a question here. Can you please share some technical skills required to be a good BA? Definitely, we have a session on this. We have a session on competencies. We have a session on various techniques, right? So we'll be, for example, like I would say, like there are some technical skills. I would say there are some 200 plus techniques. Okay, and there is some I would say some 15 tools are there, right? So all these things will be kind of like we'll be meeting every time. Every week we are meeting on Tuesdays, and we'll be discussing this 30 minutes. We'll make something like very short. You will learn one thing. So we don't want to deal with so many things. We will deal with one thing, and we will do that short. Okay. The idea is to create a spark in you, and you are able to develop further on this on you. Okay. So I think that's are all the questions, and please be connected, and we will continue these kind of sessions every week on Thursdays at 11 a.m. Thank you so much for all the participants. You are permanently registered, so you need not have to register again, I think so. So you will be kind of like receiving this reminder mails every week, and you can continue this session. So you will take a great value out of this. Thank you so much. Take care and stay safe. Bye for now.